watching the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Steve Grover, and Happy New Year. We're back for another episode and another year of the Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast. It'll be episode number 1 for 2026, so thanks for tuning in. And, we've always got some special guests, and, I'm really proud to have this gentleman on, Joe Freed, who I know through the Trucking Association, says this is the hottest attorney in the U.S. right now. That's what he mentioned about you in Austin, Sach Oliver. So, Sach, how are you doing?
I'm blessed beyond measure, man. Steve, glad to be here. Thanks for having me, and I'm thankful my good friend and mentor, Joe Freed, would say those kind words.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I've seen you several times at the ATA convention. I think the first time I saw you was at the Atlanta one a couple of years ago at the Marriott Marquis downtown, and I know you wear a big cowboy hat, so I know you're a true cowboy, aren't you?
Yeah, we have a cattle ranch that we live on, and we have lots of horses. I team rope still to today, and I've grown up on a cattle ranch, and my wife rides horses, and my daughters compete in different competitions, horse shows. So, yeah, it's our lifestyle. It's what we do.
Okay, so I know who you are. Can you introduce yourself a little bit about who Sach Oliver is to my viewers, so they know who you are, where you're from, and what you do as a job?
Sure. Well, my name's Sach Oliver. I was actually named after the famous African-American baseball player Satchel Paige. And I am from Arkansas. Grew up in an extremely rural area in northern Arkansas. And then we opened up a law practice in northwest Arkansas, a town called Rogers, Arkansas. And we just started doing personal injury exclusively. That would be in 2006. Mm-hmm. And just started out small. We only handled small cases then. Whatever personal injury cases we could get was old school hustling business.
Yeah.
We actually remodeled an old house to get started in our business, and we started getting cases by word of mouth. I traveled around to different little coffee networking events that I found out in town, and I would take some business cards, stand up, and tell everybody, I hope you don't ever need me, but if you do, give me a call. And that's how I got my first case. It was actually a waitress that fell at O'Charlie's after she'd clocked out. I remember we resolved that case for $11,000. I got the check hanging up in my hallway as my first case. I called my wife and said, honey, we're going to have steaks tonight. So, and that's actually how we got our second case, which was my very first jury trial.
Okay.
A State Farm insurance agent was at the coffee network and had gotten hit in a car. The other side didn't have enough insurance, and she needed to use her underinsured motorist. And so we sued State Farm. And in, I think, April of 2007, we went to trial on that case. And that's how we got our very first jury trial verdict all those years ago.
Okay, well, yeah, so it's so nice to, meet another lawyer who's a personal injury lawyer like myself. I've been around since 2000, and I started Grover Law Firm in 2003, and we're here in beautiful Calgary, Alberta, and I'm not a cowboy like you, but our parents did have a ranch out west of Calgary, and I've got about 7 cowboy hats at home. I think I told Heather at your office about that last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, this is, the biggest outdoor show in the world is the Calgary Stampede. Have you ever been up to Calgary?
I never have, but we want to do it. We've talked about it, and it's a matter of just coming up there because we watch it on television. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I always go every year, and there's a couple things I do. I go to the Midway. I get my corn dog, okay? I get my root beer, and then I get my curly fries, and then I end that up with a mini donut. So it's sort of like a Midway fair kind of food you get down in southern part of the U.S. at those fairs down there.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, man. Some great food.
And then obviously we always get tickets for the last Sunday at the Stampede, which is the last day of the rodeo and the chuck wagons, and then the young Canadians come out and they do a big dance and entertain the crowd at the end. So if you're ever up in Calgary, let us know. I'll gladly host you and your family. We'll show you around because I'm pretty proud of Calgary. It is known as the North Dallas, the northern version of Dallas, Texas for Canada. And then obviously it's a big, ranching area. And obviously we got beautiful Banff. I don't know if you're familiar with Banff, which is about an hour away from our office, the big Rocky Mountains. So it's gorgeous part of the world.
Steve, I'm going to take you up on that someday. That'd be great.
Well, just to let you know, so every year our law firm has a stampede party. It's July 11th this year at Big Sky Barbecue. It's like a Texas barbecue place in Okotoks, which is south of Calgary. So if you're around, you and your family are invited to our stampede barbecue on July 11th here in Calgary. Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, great. So let's talk about you. I've seen you several times at the ATA conferences, and I'm getting through your book right now. And thank you so much for sending your book, Depositions Are Trial, because I was trying to get this through the internet, and unfortunately, I don't know if it has to do anything with Trump now, or maybe because we're in a foreign country, but I couldn't get your book.
Wow.
And then I think I met you in Austin. It was down in the Hilton Hotel at the lobby. And I asked you, how can I get your book? And then you set me up with your COO, I believe it was.
That's right.
And then you guys sent us a copy, and then I graciously sent you a check. So hopefully you guys cashed that check for $160 US, eh?
I hope it was the check cashed.
Well, I hope it was in US dollars, because you don't want Canadian, because I think that 160 Canadian would be like $100 US, okay?
Okay.
But I mean, I always enjoy, like, you call yourself the cowboy lawyer, and I appreciate that. And I really enjoy watching you, especially in Austin. You're so awesome to watch. Especially my case manager Macy was there. She's never seen a real American trial lawyer, jury trial lawyer, because I don't know, in Alberta we don't run jury trials. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So we have only bench-only trials. We do have a rule with the Jury Act where if you want a jury trial, you're going to have to make an application. You're going to have to put $2,000 in court, and then the other side can defend it, and usually they get thrown out. Okay?
Okay. Wow. I didn't know that about your system.
Yeah. So, it's a different system than you guys. We don't really have punitives up here. Our general damages for non-PECs is capped at 471,000 Canadian. And so we don't have those, as Defense Counsel calls them in the U.S., those nuclear verdicts we have, up here. But we make a good living up here, okay?
Okay, great.
But yeah, so what, just out of interest, because everyone asks me, how do I get into personal injury? You went to law school, you come out, and you obviously want to be a trial lawyer. Is that your goal when you came out of law school?
That was my goal before I went to law school.
Okay.
I knew what I wanted to do well before I went to law school. So it helped me really be focused and targeted with my law school degree, and I did the trial advocacy courses. I focused on the tort and evidence courses. I went as far as I could on all the advanced civil stuff, and I did the traveling trial competition, which was a huge blessing for me. I had to compete to make it to the team.
Yeah.
It was high demand, but you had to try out, and then you made the team, and then we traveled and did trial advocacy and competed against other law schools in these mock trials, and it was just fantastic. So knowing what I wanted to do going into law school was a huge benefit, because I think it kind of pushed me out where I hit the ground running. Matter of fact, we bought this old house I was telling you about earlier, Steve, during my second year of law school, and my wife and I and my father, we remodeled that house on after classes and on the weekends so that it'd be ready to go whenever I graduated.
Okay, that's real cool. So what motivated you to go to law school and become a trial lawyer? Was there something, was there a movie you saw, a person you met, or something like that?
I had a very specific event. I was very involved in undergrad at Arkansas State University in the Student Government Association. And matter of fact, I worked my way up and ran for the student government president of I think it was 12,000 students. And I won the election and became student government president of the campus. And I started traveling with the chancellor, Dr. Les Wyatt, down to the legislature to advocate for student rights and more money to come to the students and things of that nature. And I really got into it, and I enjoyed it so much that I walked into Dr. Wyatt, the president of the university's office, and said, I'd like to go to work for Arkansas State University when I graduate. Mm-hmm. And he said, you're hired. He said, you're just what we're looking for. He said, how much money do you want to make? And I remember saying, I want to make $40,000. He said, done. Great.
Okay.
I remember thinking, I'm rich. He then said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm loving this advocacy.
Yeah.
I want to work in the governmental affairs department
Okay.
and keep advocating for students. He said, this is just fantastic. He said, but I think that you might be making short-term decisions instead of long-term decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He said, would you do something for me if I asked you? I said, yes, sir. Man, you've been great to me. He said, I want you to visit with a visionary named Wallace Fowler.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I'll do it. Well, he picks up his phone and calls Wallace Fowler, and Wallace Fowler says, send him over.
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped in my 1994 Thunderbird and drove across town to Wallace Fowler's office. And Wallace Fowler's a very successful businessman, owned multiple banks, fast food chains, very successful. Most SEC schools have something called the Fowler Center on their campuses.
Yeah.
And Mr. Fowler, I walked into his office and he says to me, what are you passionate about? There was no, hi, how are yous? Tell me about your background. Is what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
I said, I'm passionate about advocacy. That's what I like. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
He said, what is your awesomeness? What are you awesome at? Sets you apart from other people. I said, public speaking. He said, then what we have to do is find a need in the community so that we line up your passions, your awesomeness, and the need in the community. And where those intersect become your niche.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I know what I'm passionate about. I know what I'm good at. I'm 20, whatever it was, 20, 21 years old. I have no idea what the needs are in the community.
Yeah.
He said, I do. And here's what he told me. He goes, I have 21 lawyers on my staff, and I get sued all the time. He said, I cannot stand lawyers. He goes, I can't stand them.
Yeah.
He said, but what I have in being sued so much and in so much litigation with all my businesses, he goes, something I've learned is there are not very many great trial lawyers.
Yeah.
And I think you have the potential to be a great one. I want you to look into it. Before that day, I'd never considered it. I didn't even really remember the word trial lawyer. I've heard a lawyer before. And I walked out of his office determined to find out what a trial lawyer does.
Yeah.
And the more I investigated, I called a bunch of lawyers and talked to them and visited and researched it and interviewed people. And took a little bit, but it didn't take very long later. I realized I want to be a personal injury plaintiff's trial lawyer.
Okay.
And that's what I did. So I went to law school to be that.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. And, it's like I went to law school 3 years, and, my idea was, okay, I'm going to become a corporate lawyer. I'm going to do mergers and acquisitions. And then why did you chose to become a personal injury trial lawyer? Because you could have worked for like Mr. Fowler, or you could be in a big trial lawyer at a big firm, say in like Dallas or Houston, or even like what's the Fayetteville and stuff, Little Rock, Arkansas. Why didn't you go the corporate way? Does it make sense, that question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you go back to originally when he asked me what I wanted to do, it was advocate for students.
Okay.
That's my original. I wanted to advocate for students. And so I took that, what did I enjoy much and what was I driven by with that passion, and it was advocating for people.
Yeah.
And so that's where from the very beginning, I knew when I started that research that whatever I did, I wanted to advocate for people.
Yeah.
And so it made it very easy to X out. There's nothing wrong with people who advocate for corporations. That somebody has to do that.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I just knew right away that wasn't what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
And of course, insurance companies, I knew that's not what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to advocate for people.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do it in the courtroom. And so if you're really people driven and you're courtroom driven, it kept taking me back to personal injury.
Okay. And so can I ask you a question? And like you said, there's nothing wrong with being a trial lawyer for insurance defense, but you don't really deal with real people. Would you agree with that? You're dealing with the big corporations and the adjusters. What was your interest in helping the general public? Was it something from your family, your values you're raised on?
Well, my mother is a school teacher.
Okay.
My grandfather's a school teacher. So I was raised in a family of school teachers. And my father builds power lines for the electric utility.
Yeah.
And so but they consider both of them in the service industry.
Yeah.
My mother's serving children through teaching. My daddy's serving the public through building electric utility lines.
Yeah.
And I just think that's just the culture. My grandfather was on the school board. My uncle was on the local farm bureau board.
Yeah.
And I just think that's just the way I was raised there. I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah.
Nobody sat me down and said, "You're going to be a man of the people."
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. It was just the culture, the love that represents my family.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandmother, she would make meals throughout the week and deliver them to what she called the shut-ins, people who couldn't get out, but they were sick or didn't have the funds. And she would deliver meals to them on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And so, hey, I just get to watch that, right? I'm just a child.
Yeah.
And you watch your grandmother serve people through her church and through the community. And I think that makes an imprint on us as children that form our foundation and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
Same thing with my mother. I watch my mother go to great lengths to serve children of all ages, of all races, of every, it doesn't matter. She just exuded love to children. If you were a child who needed something, she wanted to make sure you got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you grow up in that culture, I think that becomes who you are and what your heart is made out of.
Yeah, and you sound like a very grounded person. You meet a lot of people out there, and they're introverts, so they can't relate to normal people. And you seem like I've seen you talk, and you sound like you're a very grounded person. Like you mentioned, when you started your practice out, it takes a lot of gall to actually go to a coffee shop and hand out your cards and tell people that you're a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? A lot of now, especially this generation, a lot of kids don't want to do that kind of stuff. So, obviously, that you're passionate about what you're doing, and you need to sell yourself also. Would you agree with that in any profession you're in?
Well, I think that's absolutely true in any profession. But I think our profession, you have got to hold yourself out. In our very specific profession as a trial lawyer, willing to help people who need your services. So, yeah, early on, I have the ability to be grounded, to visit with people, to listen. I think that's a big factor, to listen. And basically, Steve, at the end of the day, people know that I'm a trial lawyer generally, and they know that if they need somebody, they can call us. I think other lawyers in the country know that. And so that's how you could say I hustle business, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being a hustler. I mean, I always believe no one's going to put bread on your table except for yourself. I don't expect the government to take care of me. So, I mean, that's our attitude up here at Grover Law Firm, that we're always out there making sure that we're representing the people, we're marketing ourselves, and we want to help people get justice. But your background, you mentioned you went to Arkansas State University. You grew up in a farm in Arkansas, correct?
Yes, very rural Arkansas.
Riding horses, and were you involved in the rodeo growing up?
Yes, I did the rodeo, the local rodeos, the state rodeos.
Yeah.
And I went to college on a rodeo scholarship. We team roped.
Okay.
That's where we rode. There's two of us on horseback, and we rope a steer that has horns. One ropes the horns and one ropes the feet. I rope the horns. And my partner, Josh Hamby, in college, who's a phenomenal cowboy, very successful cowboy, he roped the feet.
Okay, so are you still a rodeo fan? Do you watch the professional rodeo circuit?
I do. I'm not an avid fan now, because of time probably, but I enjoy to watch it. We go to several rodeos a year. I think it's a great sport. But I compete in team roping still today. And so if I have a choice of watching a rodeo or doing it myself, I'd rather just do it myself.
Yeah, and I read your book. I've started it. I'm into page. I actually just let you know. I finished up to. Just going to see where I am right now. Sorry about that. I'm at chapter 8. Going to start that probably tonight. The engine, but there's a little piece on there where you were up in Montana. with another trial lawyer. I think I mentioned him earlier, and you're showing off your rodeo skills and your horse riding skills to him. Is that correct?
Oh, that's right. Well, we were with the lawyers group in Montana. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they, at this event where there's all these trial lawyers,
yeah.
they had team building events. And one of them was what's called team pinning.
Yeah.
That's where you get on horses as a team and you have to there's a bunch of cows out there. You got to get one out and put it in the pen. And so we had so much fun. John Romano and Bob Shepard were on my team.
Yeah.
And I say it's John Wayne Romano. That's what I tell him.
Yeah.
He's a great lawyer from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
And so, anyway, we were blessed to win that competition.
Okay. Well, obviously you can tell if I have a little snippet that little small, I've read your book. You got to be impressed by that, okay?
Oh, yeah. Steve, I'm impressed no matter what. And Nathan's got his cowboy hat on, so I'm impressed with the details here, see?
And I don't know if you know, but Alberta's just north of Montana, so we go there frequently. We'll go into Great Falls. We'll pass through Bozeman, Billings. And my sisters grew up riding horses. I was thrown in a dirt bike, so I'm more of a motorcyclist. So we ride our bikes down the Great Falls or down to Sturgis that way. So I'm very familiar with Montana. Great, beautiful country like Alberta. But obviously, are you just focusing on trucking accidents pretty much? Is that the focus of your personal injury practice now?
Yes, about 80% of our practice is 18-wheeler litigation all over the country. We've got cases from Oregon to Pennsylvania to Miami to South Texas to California.
Yeah.
And then about 20% of our practice is construction worksite injuries or deaths.
Okay. And let me ask you a question. This passed in my mind when I was reading your book. Of all the personal injury areas that you could have focused on, like premise liability, I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Neff. He's out of Atlanta, or medical malpractice, or dental malpractice, or just auto cases. Why did you just hone in on trucking accidents?
Well, it really was not that intentional, Steve. Quite frankly, I started out trying everything: car wreck cases, medical cases, products cases, and I remember my very first tractor trailer case that came to me. Client's name was Jim Liddell, and a Bob truck rear-ended him. So, and we just overworked that case like we did every case.
Yeah.
But we got a great result. And what happened is another 18-wheeler plaintiff gave us a call, and I think my third 18-wheeler case went to trial. And I think you know this, but when you do go to trial, it spreads. People start talking about it. It's really rare, quite frankly. As a lot of places, you talk to some lawyers, they just don't go to trial, or they don't go very often. And so we went to trial, and that spread. And the next thing you know, I started getting referrals of other lawyers who had 18-wheelers just because I went to trial in one.
Yeah.
And it just gradually grew organically. I believe God connected the dots for me to do that.
Yeah.
And the same is true for the construction part of it. I never once said I want to do construction cases, but I got a call in 2013 where they dropped a 1 million pound stator at the nuclear plant in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And there was a death and several other families, and you've read about that in the book.
Yeah.
And that case came to me, and I had learned everything there is to know about nuclear plants and construction. And the next thing I know, I'm getting referred construction cases, going to trial in construction cases. And it just has kind of become that way. And so now, because of the way we play ball on all these big cases all over the country, we feel like we can't spread ourselves out. We've got to narrow in and specialize on 18-wheeler cases and construction site cases so that we can do a great job on our select cases and select clients for our select co-counsels.
Okay. And, we do trucking cases up here. Can you explain to people, like, a trucking case is not like a regular car wreck case? Can you give them the fundamentals of why that's so different? Because I see a lot of lawyers taking on trucking cases up here, and I can just tell they're not deposing the witness properly. They don't know what the limits are. So what's the fundamental difference of why a trucking case is so complex compared to just a car wreck case?
If a lawyer treats an 18-wheeler case like a car wreck case, they will leave substantial huge sums of money on the table on behalf of the client, and that ain't right. It's wrong.
Yeah.
And so the reason why it's such a huge difference, okay, is the 18-wheeler company has a responsibility to the public and, of course, to the individuals and to this plaintiff to maintain that vehicle and keep that vehicle, the brakes working. Every brake has to work. That tractor trailer has to slow down and stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they have to inspect it and take care of it. And then they have to hire a qualified driver. So it can't be somebody that's had 4 DWIs in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It can't be somebody who can't see because they have poor vision.
Yeah.
It can't be somebody who's unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so then they have to train that driver and supervise that driver. And if that driver gets into a bunch of wrecks, they have a duty to pull that driver off of the road so that somebody doesn't get hurt or killed. And so when an 18-wheeler hits and strikes somebody, there's carnage involved.
Yeah.
Some kind of carnage.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, sometimes that carnage is somebody's mother,
Yeah.
somebody's father, or somebody's baby.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and it was preventable, and we do an investigation and we find the root cause was that the corporation made a series of decisions that intentionally put this driver in an unsafe position and take life. That ain't right. We call that reckless.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's a huge difference. A car wreck case, as you very well know, one, that's generally an individual, not a corporation, and there's 2 vehicles or 2 sedans, you might say, that collide. And bad things can happen there too. Don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
But we hope and pray it's not carnage, not like 18-wheelers colliding. It's carnage every time. And usually when we're dealing with vehicles, non-commercial vehicles, you don't have all of the maintenance responsibilities, the hiring, training, supervision. And so I always say if a mother is driving her kids to daycare and the kid drops the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and she tries to pick it up and accidentally rear ends somebody, sure, is that negligence? Well, it is negligence.
Yeah.
Is that a huge, reckless lawsuit against the corporation? Absolutely not.
No.
And that's what how I like to explain it to people.
Okay. All right. And obviously, you tried a lot of trucking cases, but one thing that I've found myself, you have to put a lot of effort and time into these cases. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Very much so. They're time intensive. They're not quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a process and a methodology. It's in our book, and we walk through that on each and every case. And what it does is it drives the value of the cases in front of the jury, and then the opportunity for resolution for the insurance companies and the clients.
I mean, I've done these cases since probably 2003, since I went on my own. I mean, they can be very draining. They can be very frustrating. You know, I've read your book where you've had some depositions, and, defense counsel, they like to get under your skin, and, you got to keep your cool. And, I've had cases where, I had a trucking case go on for 8 years, 8 different counsel on it, and they offered me $6,500, and then we ended up settling just before trial close to $1 million. But I'm going to tell you one thing. 3 months later, I was having a shower, washing my hair, and I was thinking about the case again. Oh, and then I woke up, that case resolved 3 months ago, because I got so much into the case. And so how can you separate that from your personal life? Does it make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And I just don't do that.
Yeah.
I just say that this is who I am.
Yeah.
And my wife's involved in it. My children are involved in it. We talk about the cases. I'm not trying to say it consumes us, or, we have a tremendous amount of family time, and we all sat down for dinner every night this week so far, right? And so I'm not trying to say it consumes us, but I also don't like to pretend. I don't have a shut off button.
Yeah.
Or I don't have some at 5 p.m. I shut off at all.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, I got up at midnight last night thinking about what we're going to do on a current case that we have, where a truck driver had the most hours of service violation I've ever seen on a case. And he kills 6 or 7 people, permanently injured some people up in Oregon.
Yeah.
We've got that case coming up. And he had fentanyl, meth and cocaine in his system.
Okay.
And so I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about that case, and I went to my office, at my home office, to just write down the notes of what was traveling through my mind so I didn't lose them. And then I went right back to bed. But just to give you an example, I don't think that I can separate the two. Me personally, I'm not saying it's not a bad, sounds healthy, but that's not who I am.
But I mean, everyone talks about work-life balance. I mean, I enjoy my work. I mean, it brings me a passion every day to get up. I go to the gym. I think about cases, or I'm thinking about it. I come to the office. I make my office the way I want it to be, and I enjoy talking to people. So obviously, I mean, you have your own work-life balance. Would you agree with that? Doing your kind of practice.
Oh, absolutely. And I see that more as so for example, I'm running a major cattle operation with 300 head of cattle, 2,000 acres. And so I'm engaged with the cattle operation. And my oldest daughter competes in horse shows, and we'll travel all across Texas. Yeah. And so I'm with her. My youngest daughter does country music, and we're going to her. She's playing at the Texas Troubadour in March in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. My wife has a business, Tinsel and Twine, where she decorates homes for Christmas and Christmas trees. And so I think it's more like I'm spending time with Cody, and I'm with her. Yeah. Whatever that is. And so it's kind of like active listening or engagement, or when I'm visiting with Risa. And so that's what I have to work on, is that when I'm talking to Cody, my wife, that I'm listening and engaged and not thinking about my cases. Now, that's my definition of balance. Yeah. And so, but I will tell you this, there's many times where I'm riding a horse and I'm thinking about my cases, or I'm out there on the ranch and I'm thinking about these cases. And so, matter of fact, I will tell you that's kind of become part of my methodology, is some of my best ideas are on horseback.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get back to your book, Depositions or Trial. Thank you so much for your office sending it to me. What motivated you to come up with this theory and write this book?
When we started testing the philosophy that the deposition is the trial back in, I think, 2014, and I started testing it and playing with it and getting some good results. And then I was also speaking at different events for trial lawyers across the country. And I would start to interweave some of the things we've been trying. Mm-hmm. And the more that we developed the philosophy and the more that we were teaching about it, I can't remember what year it was. I can just tell you it was way before COVID. Somebody came up to me and said, you should write a book. Yeah. And then I would continue to develop the methodology, and then I would do it on 10 different cases, and then I would teach and show what we did on these cases using this newly developed methodology. And somebody said, hey, when are you going to write a book? Yeah. And I got started being asked to speak more and more and more at different trial lawyer events across the country, and it just became, when are you writing a book? So I really remember the first few times I got asked that question, I totally thought to myself, I'm way too young, and I don't have enough experience, plus I'm developing the methodology. I don't think you need to write a book that's in development. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to season. I wanted to try this. I wanted to make sure this is solid stuff. I wanted to really test it. And then I thought I needed to get more experience, quite frankly, and season myself. And so it just kind of happened one day where I had been writing down an outline for a couple years. Every time I was trying something, I had an idea, and when an idea became solid, I'd write it in my outline for the book. Yeah. And then I sat down one day and just said, I'm just going to start writing this out. And I did. And a year and a half later, boom, we've got a book.
No way. Well, it's a great book. I mean, I'm going to probably finish this weekend. Sorry that I couldn't finish the book. I was busy Monday night watching Miami play Indiana, which is a great game. So sure. you got to put your priorities sometimes on watching all the sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously, I read it, and I agree with you. Like, I see it here in Canada. A lot of lawyers do not get engaged in, like, depositions. We actually, in Alberta, we call it questioning, just to let you know, okay? It's a layperson term. So in 2010, the Alberta rules, the Law Society here, the State Bar, they revamped the rules to make it more layperson friendly. But you mentioned, you keep on using the word questioning in your book anyway, so it's the same idea as a deposition, okay?
Sure.
But what we see a lot of here is well, you know what, we're going to admit liability, okay? And then most plaintiff lawyers don't depose the corporate rep or the driver or the safety officer on liability. And do you think that's negligence?
Well,
Or close to it, or they're not doing their job, you know what I'm saying?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every scenario is different.
Yeah.
I will tell you that on cases that we work on,
Yeah.
we're deposing the corporate rep and the drivers and the VPs and the executives every time.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether or not somebody else is or not, I'd have to look at their scenario
Yeah.
to help them out. But I do encourage, we do a deposition game plan strategy session
Yeah.
at the beginning of every case. And we outline what are the players of this case or
Yeah.
the actors of the scenes.
Yeah.
And that becomes our deposition strategy. And then we sequence those witnesses. And so at the very beginning of the case, we're deciding who we believe we're going to be deposing and in what order.
Okay, so every case you always depose the defendants no matter what. Is that how you run any kind of litigation case?
Yeah, I can't remember a time where we did not depose the corporate defendant
Yeah.
and the truck driver or the engineer or the the individuals. I call it, you got corporate, you got executives, you got
Yeah.
boots on the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we're going to depose those all. Then you have eyewitnesses.
Yeah.
We're going to depose those too.
Yeah.
Then you have collateral witnesses.
Yeah.
And then you have your damage witnesses.
Yeah.
And so those are going to be our depositions on almost every single case.
Okay. And I enjoy your book. I mean, I know I see a lot of lawyers not prepping for depositions up here properly, not being done in half an hour. It's not the way I ran my practice. I always believe you have to do, depose the defendants because it's like practice. You're practicing for trial. And you want to get those admissions, like you mentioned in your book, so that you have those admissions at trial. So you run your depositions and you prepare them like you're running a trial. Wouldn't you agree? That's the theory of your book.
That's the theory. You nailed it, Steve.
Okay, so obviously I
That's
read your book. Okay, we're done.
You got it. You're in, buddy. You'll be okay.
But I enjoy it, like you talking about patience, and I questioned a defendant on a motorcycle fall yesterday, and he was actually really making me mad. But I read that you're just reaffirming, hearing it from a great trial lawyer like you. Be patient, be persistent, never give up. That's a chapter in your book. Do you remember Tom Vesper at all, the guy at Atlantic City?
Very much so.
Yeah, I've seen him a lot at AAJ meetings, and I always wanted to follow him because he just says, never give up, keep on asking the same question over and over again until you get the answer, because you can read those transcripts at trial and the witness doesn't look good. And you agree with that theory of never give up in your case or deposing the witness?
I believe that you should never give up. Now, the never give up has a foundation that is required.
Yeah.
That is, you have to have a superstar question.
Yeah.
If you don't have a superstar question, the never give up thing is going to create some major frustration. Okay?
Yeah.
So you got to spend the time to get the question perfected.
Yeah.
And when you deliver that question, I'm not going to give up until I get the truth.
Yeah.
Now, you can lie, and we're going to get on video clips. So that's why I mean by, and Joe Freed calls it knocking them off the fence.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, you have to get off the fence here. You have to answer me.
Yeah.
You can tell the truth or you can lie.
Yeah.
But it has to be one or the other. And that's what I mean by we're going to never give up. I
Yeah.
won't leave. So, for example, a witness who's being evasive and giving, I call it politician-type answers, never
Yeah.
answering a question,
Yeah.
we're not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's lying. And it's not fair to their truth, and it's not fair to the jury. It's not fair to the judge. It's not fair to the plaintiff.
Yeah.
It's not fair to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just going to call it out. We're going to walk through it. We'll be patient. And I'll ask this question the right way until you answer it truthfully, but we're not going to evade it.
And I like in your book how you say your questions should be short and sweet. You don't ask long-winded questions. How did you come up with that theory? Because I keep on telling my lawyers to do it, and it's almost like I'm their dad. They don't want to listen to me anymore. How did you come up with that theory, and how do you focus that practice to your attorneys that work for your law firm?
Sure. So Charles Allen's a great trial lawyer from Atlanta, Georgia, who taught me that principle.
Okay.
And I was always like, how do you do it? He always was telling me that. He was like, how do you do it? So I'll just tell you the way that I do it is I write down the question, and then I basically wordsmith it.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, what words can I take out of there, or is there a different set of words that I can use to combine them?
Yeah.
And then I think about country music song titles. If you, like Johnny Cash's I've Been Everywhere, Man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 170 locations in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that song is all this stuff, but they've narrowed the title down. I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to do to the best of our ability with these questions or these topics in these depositions. And so I'll tell you something else is you got to bring it to its simplest form. I mean, I can roll out to you and say the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, Chapter 3.73, subsection 4.8, says that you must have certain amount of braking on each and every axle. True? Oh my gosh, if they're still awake by the end of that question.
Yeah. Well, you lost me, okay?
Yeah, you see? Versus brakes.
Yeah.
Got to have them.
Yeah.
Brakes.
Yeah.
Slow down. Brakes. Slow down and stop.
Yeah.
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 See, I'll break it to its simplest form where the witness is like, stop. Yeah, you got to have them.
Yeah.
And so that's there's an example of what we try to do to the best of our ability. And I know that there's some topics that are just complicated and they may not be able to be simplified, but most topics I have found can be simplified.
So in your years of practice, have you found that trial lawyers need to be complicated and show intelligence, and they don't like to be simple and stupid in their questionnaires? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really don't know about other trial lawyers. I mean,
yeah,
I do not. We're simple-minded, simple folks, and so we break it down simple, and that's fine with us.
Yeah.
And we want to be humble and grounded, is the word you use, Steve, and we want to stay that way.
Yeah.
And so I have found that allows us to relate. One, that's who we are.
Yeah.
We're not putting on a facade. That's who we really are. And two, it allows us to relate to people very well. So we want to connect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just out of my own curiosity, is going through your book and seeing it at seminars, say you got a deposition coming up with a corporate rep and a safety office and the driver. How much prep time do you spend preparing for that deposition for those three witnesses?
So the deposition outline, let's say for the corporate representative, we're going to put somewhere between 40 to 60 hours into that deposition outline.
Okay.
And then that prep for that corporate rep depo outline will bleed over and help you drastically. So then maybe you only have to have 20 hours for the VP of safety and only 20 hours for the driver. Okay. So you have a huge front load for your first few depositions that are going to take a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
40, 60, 90 hours. But as the case moves forward, you will find it's much, much shorter as you move forward because you're prepared.
Okay. And then how long are your depositions going, for a week or so, or longer than that?
Oh, no. I think my average deposition is 6 hours.
Okay. So that's not that bad. Yeah. And you
let
the witnesses.
And once again, they do this. The first deposition is the longest.
Yeah.
The second deposition, the third deposition. And so we start out like a funnel.
Yeah.
And it gradually does this to the last three depositions might only be an hour long.
Okay. And do you allow the witnesses to have a pee break and a lunch break, or you just run them right through the 6 hours?
Oh, I tell the witnesses they can stop whenever they want for any reason at all.
Yeah, I know.
So I let the witnesses control that completely.
So one thing that I found in your book, and I agree with you, is I like how you want to be kind to the witness. I mean, if there's objections, you don't agree to argue on the record. How did you come to that theory? Was it just practice, or you learned from other lawyers? Because a lot of lawyers, like, they want, I'm a bigger lawyer than you, and I'm going to put it on the record. We're going to have an off-the-record conversation, and most lawyers want to intimidate the witness. You understand?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, a combination, Steve. I've learned from so many great lawyers. The list is so long.
Yeah.
I have been to every seminar there is, and I've sat on the front row and take notes.
Okay.
So, and I still believe in that myself today.
Yeah.
I will tell you that the majority of that learning is through battle.
Yeah.
And taking, I don't know how many depositions I've taken, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000. I don't know. I've never counted. But my whole point is that it's through taking many depositions and learning from great trial lawyers that we've developed these methods that do work consistently. The lawyer that stands out in my mind that I learned the most from on how to handle these depositions is Mark Kozorowski.
Yeah.
Mark Kozorowski is a phenomenal lawyer, written some great books on this very issue.
Yeah. Yeah, the cause. He's out of
Cause,
Minnesota. Yeah, he's out of Minnesota. I've seen him talk actually down in Fort Lauderdale, like in the early 2000s. An associate and I went down and saw a nursing case seminar he put on, and then he brought out his harmonica. Does he still play his harmonica?
He does. He does. He has retired now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's retired, so he's not speaking. I haven't seen him speak in well over a year.
Okay.
But his wisdom is solid. So I encourage anyone listening to this to get Mark's books and read them.
So obviously, I can highly recommend Depositions or Trial, even though I haven't finished it. This is obviously, if there's a young trial lawyer out there trying to make his way through the practice, I would recommend Depositions or Trial. You mentioned the cause. There's that 30B6 rule that I've purchased. Is that another book you'd recommend out there?
I recommend Rick Friedman's book.
Yeah.
Philip Miller and Paul Scopter's books are fantastic. Mark Mandel's book on case framing.
Yeah.
I love that book.
Yeah.
And then anything that Rick Friedman and Pat Malone have written is stellar. So I mean, there's so many great books out there, but those are the ones that really just kind of pop out and jump to my mind as some great books. And then some non-lawyer books that I encourage people to read are Speak Like Churchill, Stand Like Lincoln by Jamie Humes.
Yeah.
A phenomenal book that I think they would really enjoy. Oh, and Jerry Spence's books. They're great.
Yeah, he just recently passed away last year, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's true.
I remember watching him on CNN with my dad, and I think that was sort of my inspiration to become a trial lawyer. He was on CNN all the time, especially during the OJ trial. He's always commentating every day about it. But for a young lawyer out there, is any kind of seminar you recommend, like maybe joining AAJ, American Association for Justice, or ATAA's conferences?
Yes, I think both those organizations. I'm very involved in members there, and as you know, teach at AAJ and ATAA frequently.
Yeah.
I think I think those are great ones. There are some really good ones. So AAJ, ATAA, Trial Lawyers University, Connectionology.
Yeah.
These are some great ones. We do depositions, our trial seminars several times a year.
Yeah.
And we're actually in 2027, we'll start having a depositions, our trial ranch experience at our cattle ranch. And so there's lots of opportunities, Steve. I'd say somebody feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'd be glad to connect somebody to the right organization or the right seminar.
Well, I look forward to finishing your book, and I know you got a seminar coming up. I think it was in November at Fort Worth, Depositions or Trial seminar. I remember it was sold out.
Yes.
But obviously you've got seminars at your ranch in 2027. I'd love for your office to send me an email about it. I'd love to come down to Arkansas, see that beautiful part of the country, and learn from a brilliant trial lawyer like you to make my life easier and get more justice for my clients. Okay.
Sure, buddy. Our next Depositions Our Trial seminar is in Santa Fe, New Mexico on May 21st and 22nd of 26.
Okay, so I can probably make it down there. There's a lot of Canadians that have houses down in Santa Fe. I don't know if you know that.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous part of the country. And obviously, I always like to touch on like recreation. You talked about rodeo. I'm a big sports fan, but you went to Arkansas State, and I'm pretty familiar. They had a good football team. And you obviously went to law school with the Razorbacks, University of Arkansas. Yes. So
yes, sir.
If I head down there, I'd love to see a Razorbacks football game, or their baseball team's awesome, hey?
Yes, they are. They are. We can set that up for you, Steve.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And, I really appreciate taking your time out of your busy time to be on my podcast. I know Winston and Roosevelt, they thank you, my two Bulldogs, and they want to remind you that Georgia Bulldogs beat Arkansas Razorbacks at basketball on Saturday, okay?
Okay, buddy. That sounds good. Thank you, Steve.
Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you again down in the U.S. at another seminar, okay?
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. So everyone out there, thank you for tuning in for the podcast, and see you again. And the motorcycle show is coming up next week in Calgary, so make sure you come by our booth, check out our booth, the great giveaways, and have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
The Bulldog Brewhouse Podcast.